Welcome back to the Impact Show. My name's Jeremy Melton, and Maddie's here today.
Yes, sir.
We are back for a week of teaching. We are going to go over a mandate today, but before we do, let's talk about last week. We had a guest that we interviewed last week.
Mm-hmm.
Maddie introduced him, as we were just talking about.
Yep.
And she's ready for a takeaway, but he was from Luther Rice University. He was the president. Pretty cool guy.
Yes.
I enjoyed his interview. It went for like 2 hours, hour and 45.
It was about an hour and a half, I think, once I, edited it down and stuff. But it was funny because at the 1 hour mark, I was like, all right, hey, we're at an hour. But we weren't anywhere near done. I felt like we could have kept going.
Yeah, and I think we could have kept going even past what we did. But he was great. I enjoyed him. I think I remember saying I'd love to work for a guy like that.
Oh yeah.
He was just a true leader. Nice guy. Was refreshing to be around. But what was your takeaway, Maddie?
Well, I have kind of two things. One is I think it's really cool that a lot of the stuff that he was talking about and he said are things that me and you have said a lot, or when you're teaching. Like in order for people to follow you, they have to trust you, like stuff like that. But I think my main takeaway, because it was so relatable, was that I think we got into where we were talking about how his style has changed, his leadership style. And he was like, I always felt like people had to be my friend, or I had to be their friend. And I just thought it was relatable because someone's your friend, or, as their boss, you want to be liked and whatever. It's just kind of, it's not an easy thing to not want to be, someone's friend.
Oh, yeah.
So.
No, that's good. Mine was, I went back and forth. My takeaway was just that I think that we should everyone should be in continuous learning. And that, for number one, I think you heard me asking him questions. Right? Jeremy's about to go back to school. Yeah, I thought after that, I was like, I want to go back to school. And I've always wanted to go back to school, but it kind of pushed go, per se, for me.
Yep.
But I think having said that, again, the takeaway is not that Jeremy wants to go back to school. The takeaway was all of us need to be in continued learning. And so never be in a season of your life where you say, you know what, I'm done learning. I'm done. Now, having said that, when you're 70 years old, maybe you can hang it up. Okay?
You can teach an old dog new tricks.
Maybe so, but at what point does that stop? I'm not sure, but for now, I think that you should always be in a state of learning.
Yeah.
And that's what I took away.
Very cool.
So this week we're going to dive right in. We're going to go over a mandate, right? There's 20 mandates that I teach on, and we have covered 18 of those to date since we started the show. So we have 2 left, and I'm gonna hit the number 19 today. That is to be consistent. Consistency, and that's what is consistency. And so before we begin, I want to say something, because I had to check myself for the show. But if you're listening right now to the show and you're hearing me say consistency, you're thinking, what in the world? Let me just ask you before you go any further to leave your ego outside. Okay? So leave your ego and your pride, just get naked for a minute. Okay? Not literally naked but get naked for a minute and just think about, be vulnerable with yourself, and listen, in fact, you should do that every time you hear a show, right? Because there's some stuff that's going to be said today that you just, in my opinion, you have to be humble and admit that is a problem, right? And so, anyway, always the case, but I just wanted to remind our leaders today to leave your ego outside and be open and just listen, because some of the stuff that we're going to cover, you might think, oh, I don't have to worry about that, but this stuff right here sneaks up on you. And I know it does me. And so I had to check myself a couple times, like, I don't struggle with it. Wait a minute. Yeah, I do. And so be honest with yourself. And that's just what I'm going to say about that. Okay. Consistent. What is it?
Well, I actually know what consistent means. It's like doing the same thing over and over, the same, or like doing things the same way over and over. But I did Google it as well.
Okay.
And it says consistency means the quality of being uniform, reliable, and free from contradiction, whether it's a physical texture, behavior, or ideas. It's about holding together, agreeing with itself, and maintaining the same standard or pattern over time.
Ooh, that's pretty good. We're going to get into that right there. Maintaining the same standard over time. Because you might think, well, what does consistency have to do with leadership?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're going to talk about. But so my definition of it is that it's unchanging in nature or standard, which is the word you just used,
Mm-hmm.
or effect over time. So it's unchanging by its very nature. That's the biggest thing I want you to hear. And that's the most important part for you to hear, because it's so critical that you're unchanging in nature. Now, when you say consistent, that doesn't mean you treat everybody the same.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you respond to everyone the same. As a leader, you're unchanging in nature. Okay? And so, here's the question I always ask, Maddie, you know this. What was like, so I've already told you before, and my guest or the audience, that all these mandates are built on the life and the teachings of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go back and we say, well, the first question I would ask is, was Jesus consistent?
Yeah.
In what?
In how he treated people.
Well, depends, right? So did he treat, and this is where it's so convicting, because did Jesus treat the Pharisees the same way as the disciples?
No, I think I don't mean like physically treating someone the same, but just he was consistent in his thinking, I guess, on how he would treat people.
This is going to be great. It's so good. So the first thing I thought was, and look, this is, by the way, when I dug into this, it's eye-opening, because I always thought, man, yeah, Jesus was consistent. He loved everybody.
Right.
And that's not necessarily true. And the scriptures tell you Jesus was consistent in his nature. Okay? Who he was. Jesus was consistent regarding truth. Jesus was consistent regarding, repentance and transformation and not rule keeping. Jesus was consistent in love and mercy. Jesus was consistent in faith and humility, right? He was consistent in a lot of things, but there were things that he was not consistent in. And so it's important that, look, Jesus was remarkably consistent in what he stood for, like what he was about. He was consistent.
Mm-hmm.
But he was flexible in how he responded to people, okay? And so he responded to people, it's the church says it all the time, come as you are, right? Jesus met people where they were. The woman at the well, even Judas. Everybody that he came across, he handled differently, and he did it in love, but it didn't always look like love. And so, regardless, if you read the Gospels, his reactions to people changed a good bit based on who they were and what was going on. And so, basically those things that stay consistent. I just read, the opposite. He was even consistent in his opposition to the Pharisees, and so those things never changed. Likewise, and listen carefully, the leader should not change that either. They should be unwavering in their commitment to what they're consistent in. Okay? And, let's just talk about this for 1 second. Jesus didn't do a one-size-fits-all, but Jesus changed his response to people without changing his consistent, what's the word I'm looking for? His consistent
message
would be a good word. Yeah, that's good. Very good word, Maddie.
Thank you.
So you got the humble people, the broken people, you got the people that were seeking him, you got the the self-righteous, the Pharisees. He was sharp and confrontational with those guys, even harsh, right? And if you go read it, he was harsh. He called them whitewashed tombs. I mean, Jesus was very much harsh with a self-righteous person. Okay, even like the powerful and the wealthy, he challenged them. His disciples, he was patient, and he did correct them. He had some tough love with the disciples. I mean, you look at Peter. So was he consistent? And the answer to the question is yes and no. He was consistent in some ways and inconsistent in others.
But
right?
Strategic, I feel like.
Oh, yes, 100%, which is what we're going to talk about. As you should be, as a leader of any organization, you must be strategic. Wow, Maddie, that's a word. You must know when you should be consistent, and you must know when you should be inconsistent. And being consistent in that, right?
Right.
So it's a pretty big deal. So think of it this way. So Jesus was, okay, let's think about it like this. So same doctor, right? Jesus he had disciples, he had Pharisees, he had all these people that he was treating differently. Okay. Same doctor, same goal, which was healing, but different treatment depending on the illness.
Yeah. Wow.
So if one guy over here needs different treatment than this guy, then Jesus gave it to them. The same goal all along was healing for everybody at different levels. So, and by the way, Jesus never reacted emotionally or at random. That word you just used. Oh, yeah. He was strategic about how he responded to everybody. So, all right, here's the other thing. Jesus always aimed at the heart issue, not the person.
What do you mean?
So, I don't want to use your spouse. I don't want to use your kids. Who do I want to use? Someone sins against you. You, in your flesh, apart from God, will blame that person. It's not the person. It's the problem is not the person ever. It's not the person. It's the sin, right? And so that will revolutionize your relationships if you look at it that way. I mean, look, Jesus was consistent in character and purpose, but his method and his strategy was different. And so why does consistency matter? So we're going to move on. Right now, I asked a question and then we just answered it. Was Jesus consistent? Yes and no. But he was consistent when he needed to be, and then he was consistent in that, right? That's the answer.
Yep.
So
it was a trick question, really.
Well, yes, not really, but it's just something that you have to really understand
dive into
before we go into all this other stuff.
Okay.
So Okay, so why does consistency matter? All right, so if you're not consistent, why does it matter? And I'll just tell you, consistency is what turns authority into trust.
I was about to say trust.
Yeah. Okay. So when a leader is consistent, people know what you stand for, the behaviors that are expected, how decisions will be made, and that standards apply across the board. Even Steven, fair and square, you know? And if you're not consistent, those things don't happen because what you stand for seems to change. Or the behavior that is expected is no longer expected because you don't expect it.
Right.
Right? And the decisions that are made are inconsistent, then everybody will always wonder what decision's coming next. There's no consistency. People will not thrive in that environment. They will exist.
It's good.
So without that consistency, followers start guessing. And when people are guessing, the leader loses credibility. Even if your intentions are good. And so, all right, so what does it actually look like? When I ask you, Maddie, based on everything I've said, what does consistency look like? Do you have an example?
Just like in life, you mean? Just like
being consistent.
I mean, I would think that it's being a lot like Jesus, where yes, you love everyone, whatever, but being able to focus on what your end goal is and I'm trying to not use the word consistent, but staying the path and everyone knows what you're going for.
Right.
It's not.
They know the goals.
Right. They know the goals. Everything that you do align with the goals, and then they follow suit because they trust.
That's right. It builds trust 100% of the time. So clear values. So if here's the thing, this is when consistency really matters. So when we have a decision to make, something's on the line, right? And we would typically handle it this way, but now a week later, one of our favorite guys or favorite people has done that same thing and we handle it different. That's inconsistent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you might think, well, yeah, you can't do that. Well, people do it all the time.
Right. I mean, it's easy. It's easier, I feel like, to not. I think it goes back to communication too, like how you don't fly off the, cusp just because of something. It's like you take one step back, you're 3,000 feet up or whatever it is, and then respond. Respond instead of react. I think that would build a consistent leader.
Yes.
I mean,
well,
because then you have to. I mean, it can't be easy to just always have the same exact thought or way that you're going to handle something. So then, it's
hard.
like it is. But if you take that, you respond rather than react.
Right.
You can also align yourself to the goal and making sure that what you're about to do or say or type out or whatever is what is staying consistent to who you are and what you stand for.
Right. Look, healthy consistency also shows up in what you would call being predictable, right? So I want, for me, and I'm talking out loud, I want to be predictable to my people. I want them to know that, look, if you do that right there, Jeremy's going to be excited or happy or sad or mad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I want you to know, and that's being consistent. And if I don't show that enough, then you won't know, and then you're walking around thinking like
walking around on eggshells.
Yeah, we don't want that.
No.
We know about that.
Right.
So, we want people to know that your leader is consistent. Now, you can talk about, again, we talked about rules are not being bent for favorite people. We're not playing favorites and all that stuff. Here's something else too. Check this out. Emotional steadiness. So exactly what you just said. People are not walking around on eggshells. Do you know how critical that is?
Yeah.
So important for a leader to not be that person.
Right.
And like I said earlier, before we started, put your ego outside, because I'm telling you, this one's difficult.
Yeah.
You, no matter how good you are, you're not always 100%.
That's what Sheriff Hook said.
No matter how good you are, you're not always 100%. And so you're going to let your people down. We talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
And as a leader, it's so important to not have your people walking around on eggshells because they're worried about how you feel today. And so you have to be regulated in your emotion. And so, anyway, being unpredictable is just not good. And so,
I think also with a leader being predictable, then as a follower, you know what's expected of yourself, so it feels better. You're more confident in yourself as a employee because your employer is consistent. And like, if you're feeling some, type of way because you did something that it's going to upset your boss or your leader, the leader in your life, it's not if, oh gosh, is he going to be mad, or if he's going to be mad, it's how how are they going to react, so I like
well, that in and of itself creates anxiety.
Right.
It's the uncertainty.
Yeah.
Right? That's a terrible place to be in, to stay, right? You don't want to be there. No one does. Everybody wants to be led, right? Even me. I want to be led. Everybody wants to be led because of this reason right here. You don't want to live in a state of anxiety. And look, people are not scared, or they're not scared of high standards. Okay? They're not. They're scared of unpredictable ones. Like, you can set the bar as high as you want, and people are not scared of that.
Right.
They will reach for it. They'll jump. They'll try to get to it, right? But when it moves up and down, that's when it's a problem. So when the bar, so take the monkey bars at your house. Well, I don't know if you have monkey bars at your house. I don't have them in my house either. But if you go to the park, the kids own monkey bars. They're not going to, you can't go across monkey bars that are all on different elevations. You can only go across monkey bars when they're all on the same elevation. And so that's consistent. And it's just like a person in a workplace. If the goalpost is always moving, then nobody knows what the heck is going on. And if the goalposts are steady, then now here's the other thing. Consistency doesn't happen overnight, because you might be thinking right now, if you're sitting here listening to me talking, you're thinking, well, my boss ain't very consistent either. Well, how long has he been your boss? So it takes time, because you got to learn each other. And it's just like, having a kid. You have to learn your kid, and as your kid grows up, you have to be able to change with what needs to be changed, but you have to remain consistent in what needs to be. It's really a science. And that's why this one in particular is so deep. This particular mandate can go very deep, because it is extremely psychological. But being unpredictable is not good, right? As a leader, you want to be consistent and predictable. And so, again, consistency does not mean equal the same. It's not the same. So, values should be consistent. Vision should be consistent. Character should be consistent. But the methods and the tone and the approach and the strategy, all that is different, right? And so we go back to what, like I said earlier, Jesus was consistent in all these areas, yet inconsistent in others. And the same exact thing is true of your leadership journey. There will be things where you should be consistent, and there's things where you shouldn't be. Okay? So great leaders are steady at the core, and flexible on the edges. Okay? So steady inside and flexible outside.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the core. At the core of it, we got to be steady and true and grounded and founded and all these things, yet wavering in our the way we respond to people and handle people and stuff like that. So, all right. So, what happens when leaders lack consistency?
Well, I feel like if consistency builds trust, then inconsistency is where, the trust is out the window. People are walking around on eggshells. They don't know what's expected of them on this day versus that day, and
Oh man,
stuff like that.
morale goes down.
Morale, yeah.
Accountability feels arbitrary, maybe. It's just there's no accountability. People stop taking guidance. People stop listening. It's just a free for all.
Yeah.
It literally, at the core of it, the leader must be consistent to build a team. That is about as amazing as it can possibly get. That's how important this one is. Because the team will not be put together without consistency. And you think about it, I don't make bread. I'm not a bread maker, but they say that the yeast has to be consistent for, I'm not a baker.
I have no idea. Yeah.
But I don't know. But
I get what
consistency is what like the glue that holds everything together, and that makes it work. So it's so important. Even strong vision cannot survive long with inconsistent leadership. It just doesn't survive. And so the best consistent leaders are, the things that we're talking about, they consider them routinely. Now, and so let's just say that, and speaking of the best consistent leaders, let's talk about what that looks like. So the best leaders that are most likely principled. They stand on principles.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not reactive, They respond. They don't react. We know that. They're firm, but not harsh. And, you could say adaptable and steady, not erratic. And so it's a quiet strength of leadership, and you don't really notice it when it's there, but you notice it when it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
I feel like it's kind of easy to overlook it too, and how 100%. Much it really means.
100%.
I mean, it's like you just said, you don't know. It's not like you don't know what you had till it's gone, kind of thing.
100%. Yes.
Or you didn't know how bad it was until you get something better.
Yeah. Right. There you go. That's good. I like that. But nonetheless, you don't notice it when it's there, but you do when it's not, and that's truth. So what about now? A lot of leaders might say, "Well, yeah, I can be consistent, but I mean, all that compassion talk, I'm not doing that because that just shows you're weak or whatever. I'm not compassionate because I look weak, or if I'm consistent, I just seem cold. You hear all these people, and look, maybe you're listening to the show right now and you're thinking, yeah, well, that's the way I feel too. The reality is inconsistency is not compassion, and harshness is not strength. It's just not. So, and what I want to do now is just go through a simple framework. So basically, what you might think, because we're going to get a little bit practical here, you might think, well, what do we need to do? What does it look like in practice to be consistent? And so let's just say that Joe, I'm using the name Joe.
Okay.
Or we can say, let's just say that Maddie fell short. No, I'm just kidding. We'll just say that Joe fell short.
Okay.
And missed the expectations. All right. And so Joe over here was supposed to do something. He had a report due, and he didn't get it done. He failed. He missed it. And it was a big deal. And I told him it's a big deal. So give me an example of what an inconsistent leader would do.
Well, I feel like an inconsistent leader. Well, here's a question though. Sorry. Someone can be consistent, but it could also be negative. So like if you're consistently, Joe fell short, if you're the consistent leader that just yells at you, I mean, it's like Joe knows he's about to get yelled at. But an inconsistent leader might praise and be like, hey, man, it's good. I know you got a lot going on. But then the next day be like, you're fired.
Wow.
That's inconsistent.
That's good. That's how you lose that trust.
Right.
Because you never know.
You don't know which one you're going to get.
No. And, it's so interesting that you say that because I've worked for people like this. I'm sure a lot of us have. Where they didn't treat me inconsistently, but I seen them treat others inconsistently.
That right there is a huge thing in how I can see this progressing.
Yeah.
Like,
so think about this. So you see them treat others inconsistently, and in the back of your mind, you're thinking to yourself, oh man, I hope I don't ever do that. Or
right.
What happens when I get to the end of my rope?
What if I'm not part of the cool crowd anymore? The favorites.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's true, right? And so that is so, man, I get goosebumps thinking about that. Look, if you let it slide for one person but crack down on another, right? That's inconsistent.
Absolutely.
Okay, Joe missed the mark. And whether you crack down on him or not, that is, if you're not cracking down on other people for missing the mark, then you're inconsistent.
Right.
In what, it's not necessarily on the same case, but miss the mark. That's the deal, right? So no, Joe missed his paper he had to turn in, and Maddie missed her meeting.
Right.
Okay. But nonetheless, did you address it with both?
And how?
Yeah. And so, so let's talk about like an inconsistent leader would not be consistent in how they respond to that. What about a rigid, what I would call like a leader that, an iron fist leader? What might they do?
I mean, is he a consistent iron fist?
Yeah.
Okay. And you crack down. You get written up. You get, they don't give you much grace.
They might, here we go, listen to it. They might punish without listening, right? So
what do you mean without listening?
Without listening. So why did Joe miss the paper?
Okay.
In
you're saying like listening to that person.
Oh yeah,
who missed
yeah. So without any regard to why, right? Just because.
Right.
That's not the answer either, because that's also inconsistent with values. So you wouldn't say, Joe, I'm having to write you up because you missed that. And then the next day, Joe, I'm having to write you up. You're just being harsh. You're just being, so I just want to make sure a consistent leader, hear me carefully, a consistent leader enforces the standard and addresses the circumstances, okay? So, in other words, you enforce the standard while addressing the why Joe might have missed the report.
Yeah.
Because it is important, and it is context. There's always context. You can never just be iron fist. You can have an iron fist, but you can't do it. You can do it. You can't do it outside of love, not and be a good leader, right?
Right.
So, basically, if Joe misses it, then the consistent leader indicates, hey, Joe, this can't keep happening, right? I'm here with you in this, but it has to stop.
Yeah.
We're working through this. Help me understand what's going on. Let's get it fixed.
What can I do to help?
What can I do? That's right. How can I help? All right, so here's a good one. And here's where I was talking to all the leaders earlier about your ego.
My ego?
Yeah, everybody's. Mine too.
Yeah.
What about emotional consistency? We're going to go back to this for just a minute. This is so hard because, again, as good a leader as you are and as good as leader as you could be, you run into times where you struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe things aren't going well at home, or maybe that's the other thing when you hear that, it's like, oh, maybe things aren't going well at home. Well, yeah, I mean, you could have just got into a cat fight with your spouse, or your kids could have just made you cry all the way to work, or whatever. I mean, you could be like me dealing with some of the stuff that I revealed a few weeks back. Like, we all got things going on.
Right.
And so I'm not always 100%. All right. And so my job, though, is to get ready to be 100%. And if I'm not, then I need to let my people know. Right.
Well, and it goes back to Sheriff Hook's conversation that we had with him. And he said, you can't expect your people to be 100% all the time.
Right.
But the only thing he asks of his men and women are just be the best version of yourself for that day.
Yeah.
So whether you're having, a fight with your kids or spouse or, whatever it is, however much you're able to give that day, just make sure it's the best.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think that that's a really cool.
That's a great thing for a leader to say, for
right.
sure.
Yeah.
People shouldn't have to guess what mood you're in.
No.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it doesn't mean that you're emotionless. It just means that you're regulated. And so calm under pressure, measured in your correction, steady and basically you just need to ask yourself, based on the mood, I'm not making decisions based on the mood that I'm in. And that's so difficult, and I'll tell you why. Because sometimes the leader has to make decisions, and they have to be made right then and there. You can't wait. And your mood will affect your decisions. And the wise leader, the consistent wise leader, in fact, will not make decisions when their emotions are in control, right? They have to detach. That's why I always speak in third person sometimes. Well, not always, but I do speak in third person sometimes because I need to detach myself and my emotions from the decision. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I never want to make decisions off of emotion, and you shouldn't either. No one should. You don't make decisions off emotion because if you do, they're wrong. You've typed the emails out, blah, 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 blah. You go back and read it an hour later, and it's like, I'll take a little bit out. Just go home and read it the next day. See how much different it is.
Yeah.
Because now, having said that, listen, sometimes emotion is good in a response because it's not always bad, but typically dealing with people, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, especially, and it all depends on what kind of decisions you're making,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you're trying to sell a job to someone, you want to be passionate about it. And so, and people read, they can feel your passion in your words.
Right.
Even more important than that, they can hear and feel your passion when you're speaking to them and the things that you're saying, So, all right, where are we at on time?
39 minutes.
39 minutes. God.
Another thing, like when responding, I think we've brought it up a few other times in different mandate episodes, but like you just said, like take a step back, read it in an hour, see, before you fire it off.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think like people read everything so differently too. So like if someone says yeah in an email or K or period, it's like, in my head, I'm like, wait, did I say something wrong? Because I read those words differently in the person, if it's you saying K, and I'm like, wait. It's just so funny that...
Well, for the record, if I say K, it's all good. There's no, but any thought...
I've learned that because you're consistent with it.
Yeah. I love it.
No, but I mean, it's just so funny, like, with emails and text messages and things, everything's so digital now that it's like being consistent even in how you communicate that way.
Yeah.
Not, just...
Oh, yeah. No, you got to be consistent. Here's the other thing. What you just said, about your words. So and I'm drawing a blank what I was about to tell you, but basically when you are negotiating or when you're communicating or when you're talking to your people, they are always reading you. And this is where, when I was doing this little lesson, I was convicted because you have to have an extreme level of self-awareness to lead people, right? And you have to maintain these mandates. Otherwise, you may not be leading them. You're only managing them, or you're bossing them, and so my goal, I've said it, was to be the greatest leader that my people have ever worked with. I want to be the closest thing to Jesus that you can possibly ever meet on the planet. That's my goal. And if I'm not conscious of all these things and continuous in managing my emotion and regulating all these, this long checklist, and then I can become overwhelmed with all this I have to do, right? And so there's a lot that goes into it. But the way that you respond, the way you answer questions, the way you talk to me, you're just like you just said, you're analyzing the way I respond in a text. But I'm consistent, so you're good. But for the record, if there's ever any doubt, just ask. I'll tell you.
It was just an example.
I love it. All right, so we're going to try to land the plane. What do you need to do? You're a leader right now. You want to be consistent. What do you need to do? And so I want to just hit a couple things here. Are we ready?
Ready.
Yes. All right. So you have, as a leader, you'll have what I call non-negotiables. Non-negotiables. Those are things that you have that you just say, all right, this is not negotiable. This is something that we are going to live and die by. You need to write them down. And those could be standards or principles or whatever. And so you got to be really specific, and you got to put them on paper.
These would be like core values.
Yeah. I mean, you can't break. These are the things that we are going to do and not do. And yes, we have values that impact, but like those really need to be broken down into what that looks like, what we're not going to do, and what we're okay with.
Yeah.
Yeah. That needs to be something that we do in 26. But we decide the standards before emotions get involved. Inconsistency shows up every time when feelings take over. Okay? So when your feelings get elevated, you can become inconsistent. Your feelings don't guide you, right? So feelings do not guide the leader. And if they do, then you're not leading.
Yeah. I mean, I just think about how if you are letting your emotions and feelings get in, you feel differently for different things all the time. So like your reaction is going to be different no matter what. It doesn't even matter if you feel the same way that day. It's always going to be, you're always changing.
Here's the other thing that's cool. What you're hinting at here. Your perception, current perception, determines the way you see things around you. So if you and your spouse, or you and your kids, or you and your employee, or you and whatever have just had a situation, and that's on you, right? It's in you at that point. And you go into the next situation, your perception of that situation is different based on what you just came through.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like when you go and buy, and this is a deep, deep hole here. I mean, we're getting deep, but you go buy a car, and it's a Toyota 4Runner, and you're in it.
It's a really nice car.
Yeah. How many do you see on the road now?
3.
If you work for Impact, you see 3. But think about, like, I'm driving down the road and I notice them.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, hey, there's a 4Runner.
Wait, that's a good way.
There's a black one right there.
Such a good example.
That's a brand new 4Runner. I'm in Walmart and I'm driving through the parking lot and I see those 4Runners, and you only see them every now and then, but when you see them, they stick out.
Yeah.
Why?
How many other cars do you notice?
None.
Exactly. Yeah.
Go buy a red Camaro tomorrow and drive it. and you will notice other Camaros.
That's so wild.
Okay. Your perception of life directly impacts what you see around you. Okay. And so if you're not confident in yourself, then you will look for that in others. If you're negative, then you will see negative. If you're positive, then you'll see positive. That's why you like to be around positive people. Because, I mean, again, your perception, what you see people say perception is reality. That's true for whomever sees it through that lens.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. And we're getting off track of consistency here, but your emotions change the way you see things. And so you have to be able to manage them.
Yeah.
And as a leader, you're responsible for everybody's emotions. And if you're a leader and you're not being conscious, what's the word I'm looking for?
Conscientious.
Yeah.
Whatever. Conscious.
Cognizant.
Yeah.
Of this, you will so lose your influence. Okay? That's the deal. So here we are. Let's see. All right. So what about when you are okay? So we've all got it figured out. Take your emotions out of it. Okay. All right. Ask yourself some questions, and we're going back to what you as a leader need to do to be consistent. Ask yourself some questions. What standard applies here? Have I enforced this the same way before? Am I changing the response based on who it is and how I feel? Right? Period. That's what you want to make sure the answer to those questions are no. And consistency is always asking the same questions. How did I respond to this last time?
Right.
How should I have responded to this last time? And then fix it. And then be humble. Geez, Louise, be humble. Just go to your people and say, dude, I'm sorry. I did not handle this right. Or, hey, I'm sorry, dude. I let this slide. How about that? Man, you want to talk about conviction? How often do you let things slide with your people because you don't feel like dealing with it? How often do you let your kids slide because you don't feel like dealing with it? Well, guess what? You just opened the can of inconsistency.
Right.
Because you were tired.
Ooh.
Okay? So you're tired, so you don't want to deal with it. Well, guess what? That means it's inconsistent. Well, guess what? Now you're breaking down trust with your own kid, right? And so you talk about conviction. This was heavy. This little lesson right here will rock your world if you pay attention. So we document. Okay, here's the other thing you can do. You've made some decisions and you've managed things in a certain way. And 6 months from now, you forgot. How often does that happen? All the time. What can you do to remember? Well, you can document it. People think I'm crazy because I write all over my walls in the office. And my wife...
Sticky notes, not just like...
Sticky notes.
Not just on the wall.
Yeah. Sticky notes and papers. It's everywhere. Okay. Yeah. And people think, my wife, she's like, I hate these walls because there's papers everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand. I have to keep it in front of me. Why? Because I'll forget.
Yeah.
Stuff being on the walls takes you back, right? You can journal, you can write, you can do whatever you want to. The fact is, if you don't write it down, your perception of it could change.
Yeah.
You must guide yourself and document what you're doing. And lead yourself, too. Good Lord. All right. The other thing the consistent leader does is separate facts from stories. Stories are great for, involvement and, entertainment. But stories are not always what we need to have to make decisions. Mm-hmm. We need to know facts, no assumptions, only intent. All right? Consistency lives in facts. not narratives. Okay? It lives in facts.
That's a good one.
All right. Apply consequences consistently listen very carefully, while supporting the individual, the person. Same standard, same consequence, but the support of that person is tailored to them. Look, you can be firm and kind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what they need. Invite accountability, always invite accountability. Great leaders have blind spots. And so, you want to bounce stuff off of people. A trusted advisor, of course.
Yeah.
Do you have an example of when you've ever done that?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really been in a large leadership role where I'm, guiding or directing or having to write people up or, I haven't really been in that type of a environment. But I think that I've had a few leaders who, if I've messed up, they've been consistent in how they've speak to me. But then what I'm realizing here is they're not consistent on how they've spoke to other people.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's, kind of my being firm but kind or whatever. It's like, yeah, I've had leaders do that to me, and it's always been consistent to me. And then I've seen where other people around me don't get that.
Here's the cool part. I worked for some people before. I've always worked for people, good people, great people. And I've always told the people that I work for, just tell me what you need and tell me when I do it wrong. Okay? And so one of the things that I have struggled with, and let me get naked here, but I sometimes, and it goes back to what you said earlier, the guy I had last week told us about being a friend. I've been guilty, me personally, I've been guilty of trying to be a friend and not wanting to confront certain things, which led me to be inconsistent. Okay? Because I wanted to be full of grace, I want to be full of grace from my people. Well, that's good, but sometimes people need to know that they've screwed up, right? And if you're not telling them, then it's really not helping them.
Yeah.
And it stays.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, this is what I would call a personal drift, right? So everybody, all of us have what I'm calling a drift, where we drift from what we need to be doing, and we got to come back to that. You're tired. We talked about like what leads to your inconsistency. Let's say fatigue.
Yeah.
Right. You're avoiding conflict. You're playing favorites.
It's easier to not.
Yeah, it's always easier to not. And so, we don't want to do that, but it's always difficult to lead. That's what's so bizarre. People are like, sign me up. I want to be a leader.
It's hard.
Bro, you better get ready because you're going to eat crap regularly.
I'm not going to lie. When you were like, back when we first started and you're like, we're doing a leadership in legacy, I'm like, psh.
This is ridiculous.
Leadership? And you're like, 20 mandates. I'm like, what? And it's crazy how blown my mind is with, and I'm not like blowing smoke.
Yeah, no,
but
that's good.
It's wild to think, you see these leadership, which perception, I never had any leadership training prior to this. And then, I never saw any leadership books, never saw any leadership podcasts. And now I'm like, golly, I see it. We walked in that guy's office the other day and the first thing I see is
his book,
a leadership book.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just stuff like that it is a lot bigger and people train on it and they teach on it because it is a really hard concept.
Oh, man.
I mean, it has to be ingrained. You can't just wake up and be a good leader.
No.
I mean, you have to train.
Yes. Reps.
Yes.
Yes.
Consistent reps.
I love it. Oh, I love it. All right. Here's the next thing you can do. Communicate standards more than correction.
That's good. Because then when you have to correct, they already know what the standard was.
They know what it was. This is something I don't do enough.
Another one.
All right. You need to, I don't do this enough, but I say that I don't do it enough, but I do also know that I do it because I've found myself doing it. When I was thinking about this, I was like, well, I do that all the time. But repeat expectations often. I'm guilty of, I'll repeat it, and then I'll just let it go. Or I'll think to myself, man, I need to quit saying that. Like, God dang.
Beating a dead horse.
Beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
Listen, if you're doing that nobody knows, nobody questions it. It's an expectation.
Right.
He said it 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
You know, do it or else, right? And then at some point, man, look, if people can't do it, then we got to deal with it. Then it rolls into a whole nother situation here. But continue to repeat your expectations. Don't assume anyone should know anything, ever. Because they might not know.
And what's the worst thing that could happen? You have to tell them again. Like you tell them again. You tell them your expectations again and your standards again, and they know it, and it's great.
That's great. That's exactly right.
And if they know it, they heard it again.
That's right. And so raise the bar. No matter how high you want to raise it, raise the bar. Mm-hmm. And people will be fine with that. They don't want to keep missing it, but if you're moving the bar, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Clarity. We talked about clarity, of course. But clarity is so important in this. Consistency, and I'll just say this. Consistency is always fair and good when it's visible, right? And so when you can see that the person is consistent, again, you'll look for it. All right. Last one is to what you should do. If you're a leader and you want to be consistent, you should review yourself routinely or regularly.
Review yourself consistently.
Yeah. Perfect. Great leaders audit themselves.
Well, and I think that's a huge one that a lot of people maybe overlook because it's so easy to get caught in the hustle and the bustle, and you could be doing everything so great. You know, I mean, communicating your standards and things like that. But if you don't make the time to step back and look at yourself in the mirror, and I mean, that's not what you really mean about reviewing yourself. But I mean, you can if you've got your standards that you have for yourself as a leader, and every week on Friday decompress, going over the week and every decision you had to make, every employee you may have had to talk to or something. You can just review that.
Yeah.
And figure out how you'll do better next time.
Right.
We'll all be great leaders one day.
That's right. Yeah, well, that's the deal, right? You got to be self-aware. We referred to that. Mm-hmm.
That's good with your house, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. All this stuff goes with home, your kids, and it's so difficult. Listen, here's the thing. It's so difficult to be a good leader. It's not simple. It's not complicated by any stretch, but it's hard.
Yeah.
And that's why we have a mountain in our logo. It's a climb. Leadership is a climb. When you get to the top, and I don't know when you do because I've never been there, but when you get there, I imagine it's a pretty good sight, I don't know when you get there. I guess when you cross
you get to the
glory.
top, you get to the top, and then you see the next mountain in the distance that's bigger. You're like, dang it.
Yeah.
We got to go there now.
Yeah.
Well, I just think it's funny because we met a bunch of new people, or I met a bunch of new people this week, and one of the ones that we talked about with the book on his shelf, he was like, being a leader, it's not complicated.
Yeah.
And literally, we're just sitting there giggling because it's like, it's just hard.
Yeah.
I mean,
very hard.
And it's funny that true leaders, all understand that.
Yeah.
And they all have the same mandates. They all have the same things that everyone talks about that, what makes someone a great leader. And it's written right there, but you got to be able to do it.
Yeah, it's cool. We bump into people all the time. Maddie and I, we're not going to name any names, but we did bump into a leader, and he was a leader because of the things that he was saying. It was just like a 5-minute talk.
Yeah, you could just sense it.
And it was just, he and I were like rubbing shoulders to shoulder. We were just going at it, very quickly, just by the book that was in the corner.
Yep.
And it was a really cool experience. But he was a leader of a big organization, big that we work for.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool to talk to him. And
even the brief little,
yeah.
And I think that's a lot of leaders. It's every person that we've had on the show. Just a little snippet from any of them, you can tell who they are. It's like leaders just have this sense of leadership about them that you can run into people all the time and be like, yeah, that's not a good leader.
Right.
Or you can be in a restaurant and know that the leadership is bad, or in any organization.
Yeah.
And then, you meet someone just randomly and you can tell that the people are, people like to follow that person. So,
well, that's why it's so brilliant, marvelous, extraordinary, whatever word you want to use.
mm-hmm.
But, you look at Kirk Cignetti, I think that's his name, that won the national championship this year, just 2 years ago. They were like amazing, right? That's what good leadership will do. And, it changes the concept. It changes the world, literally.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important. But anyway, all right, we're going to land the plane.
Landing it?
Landing the plane.
All right.
Where are we at?
An hour and 3 minutes on the dot.
We tried to do it in less than an hour. God.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Thank y'all for listening. Stay tuned and lead well.